Kennedys. Seems to me those men are dangerous, just like a cultish disease. Hi everybody, my name is Lasha Royanko. You've reached the channel High Voltage, and I'm back in the saddle again. I have had so many things to catch up on in life, and I'm on it. I know that everybody else who is reading this book is done. I'm not. I wanted to read it and follow through. It's September the 18th. So essentially we have 12 days to finish, and the raffle is October the 1st, and the questions are ever so easy. So I'm just putting my guitar away, which is right down yonder here. And here we are. Okay, sorry, you know what? It's a very, very humid today, and it doesn't matter what I did with my hair, it just would not work. So the last time we were together reading, we were talking about Mary Richardson Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s second wife. So we have read, that's quite a bit for me as a new book, I don't know, reviewer, reader. You decide and tell me what your thoughts are. Woo! My goodness, it's warm. All right, so, okay. We were on page 83. Okay. Bobby had filed for divorce in May of 2010 and had moved into a nearby house in Mount Kisco, New York. Mary couldn't bring herself to a nearby house in Mount Kisco, New York, except that Bobby was really leaving. He was the son, the person she talked about all the time. Bobby this, Bobby that. Sometimes she wanted him back, and others she was revolted by him. She told one friend that Bobby said the ugliest things to her, that she'd be better off you know? Wow! It sounds to me like he really wanted to get rid of her. Now, I have read this entire chapter, and okay, so she was staying with Bobby and building relationships with their kids. No more parties at the Kennedy compound for Mary. No longer was she the fifth Kennedy daughter, as Ethel had called her all those years. And how could she consider Carrie her best friend now that Carrie was happily socializing with Bobby and Cheryl? Wow. Behind the Mary Kennedy tragedy, this is really the most important part. Even the font size minimized her. This was a Kennedy story first, another family tragedy second, and Mary, well, herself was something of a footnote in history. I added the word history because men write history, and now, a century later, women used to, I think it was not until the 1930s or 40s, but in the early 1900s, women could not sell books. They couldn't write books and sell them. Do you know how far women have come? And it has been, in the past, men suppressing women. Now the tables, in my opinion, have turned where women seem to have found their place. That's a whole other subject. But again, he was a heroin addict, Bobby Kennedy Jr., an alcoholic. Mary Richardson was with her therapist and Bobby. And Bobby Kennedy Jr. wanted to have Mary Richardson institutionalized and on record with her therapist declare her mentally unwell. Now, back in those days, they used other words. So just to get to the meat and potatoes here. Here was the womanizing Bobby. Now, again, we're talking about Bobby Kennedy's son, all right? And there is a lady, her name's Jessie, and she wrote out a beautiful family tree when she was reading the book. I've listened to her. She's very good. So, thank you for joining me today. Okay, so here was the womanizing Bobby, the story read, always described as a former heroin addict, leading his innocent wife to her death, yet as another victim of an overweening male ego, and he did so while flaunting his affair with actress Cheryl Hines, who played Larry David's wife on Curb Your Enthusiasm. It was a juicy tale. I don't find that juicy at all. When I listen to people read books and say, this is really juicy, to me, that just sounds like somebody's trying to gossip, like this is a really juicy part. It's just so juicy. The meat and potatoes, when I read this, it's right here. Okay, so, okay. Leading his innocent wife to her death, yet another victim of an overwhelming male ego, and he did so while flaunting his affair with actress Cheryl Hines, who played Larry David's wife on Curb Your Enthusiasm. It was a juicy tale, lacking in nuance, but perhaps Bobby wasn't guilty. Perhaps nobody was guilty. Perhaps Mary Richardson Kennedy was and had been for some time a desperately sick woman. That's the portrait that emerges from a sealed 60-page count affidavit filed by Bobby during divorce proceedings, which I have reviewed in detail. And from the interviews with those who were closest to Bobby and Mary, including medical professionals who treated her, said she suffered from a psychiatric disorder, which she didn't. She was depressed because she was in the Kennedy clan. She wanted to be. She looked like Jackie Bouvier Kennedy Onassis. And just one moment, please. I'll be right back.
Blueberry Danish, blueberry chips. And I didn't want to bug you, but if I would leave this here, Sophie's going to eat it, right?
Thank you so much.
Right on. That's just the first course.
Oh, that's the first course. Hey, everybody, guess what? Anybody want some of Jill's cooking? Honest to gosh. Sarah. Jilly is lovely. She brought me up a heated Hanish Danish, and pizza, and my favorite chips. That's so nice. Oh my gosh, that's probably the nicest thing. Do you think Bobby Kennedy would have done that for Mary? Well, based on this, I don't think so. Hi, Sophie. Does anybody want to say hello to Sophie? There's Sophie. Hi, Bobbins. Hi, Toe. Yes. My girly girl. Oh, and that's the background. And there's everybody. At any rate. Okay, so Mary Richardson. Okay, so All of Mary's siblings, 4 sisters and 2 brothers, insisted that these claims were lies, that Mary's depression was a direct result of her husband's cheating and neglect, his threats to take the children and leave her with nothing, bringing the full weight of the Kennedy family to bear against her. See? Remember when I asked you who was hardest on the Kennedy women other than the men? The women were as... I don't even have the words to describe it. Shaheen Hankin hadn't said that Mary was mentally ill. This is the therapist. Nor had Mary's lawyer. Under circumstances like this, under circumstances like the ones Mary was under, you'd have to be crazy not to be depressed, right? Come on. You know, this guy is a psychopath. Thank God he is not a candidate for the Democratic Party. And all of this business about Kamala Harris, I've got to get in touch with Trevor about that. And Trev, I sent you an email. I even put up a short to prove it to you, my friend. Okay, 2 days after Mary hanged herself, Bobby and Carrie gave an interview to the New York Times. So his first wife, the second wife, committed, she unalived herself. So Carrie said, half my soul, I feel like I've lost my body, half my soul. This is one of her siblings. A lot of times I don't know how she made it through the day. Bobby said Mary's siblings had been aware of her lifelong battle with depression, and in 1997, her brother Thomas sought to erase the fears she had about Bobby Jr. I know you think Mary is going to unalive herself, Thomas reportedly emailed Bobby in 1997, but I guarantee she won't. I may regret those words one day, but that's how I feel. Yet Mary's siblings were infuriated by Bobby's talkativeness. There was no reason to defame her in death. There was no reason to give that sealed affidavit to a journalist, if not to save Bobby's reputation at the cost of Mary, and she's passed. Do you know that she was buried in a Kennedy plot, a Kennedy grave with, you know, I personally, it doesn't matter what I think personally. He actually, without getting the right permits, without getting any permission at all, he paid people to have her grave and her casket excavated and put up on the grass alone somewhere, under 6 feet under, alone, away from the family. He created such a situation for her with the children that Mary was often asking friends for money, for food, and the women couldn't believe it because it had to be her fault, right? Not Bobby's. I will say it takes 2 to tango. In his eulogy, Bobby said he would never feel about another human being the way he felt about Mary. He said that Mary blamed him for talking her away from her profession to be a stay-at-home mom. I know I did everything I could to help her. Honestly, why does he have that issue with his voice? I'm not making fun of it. I find it exponentially rude when people make fun of other people's weaknesses, even a psychopath like Bobby Kennedy, because I don't want to appear psychopathic. But I tell you, well, I'm not psychopathic. I will be talking about psychopathy, though. Melody, I swear to you, I swear that doctor that I had was a psychopath. But Bobby Kennedy, and you think of the mystique and the intrigue, the untouchables, and they were horrible, horrible treatment of a woman. Horrible. And lying. I did everything I could do to help her. What? By cutting her off financially? Your own children? Seriously, Bobby? Wow. You should be in jail for that. That's terrible. Shame on you. The funeral was elegant. The service ended with everyone singing America the Beautiful, a nod to all that the Kennedys have sacrificed for the nation. Oh, they sure sacrificed for the nation, eh? Ted Kennedy let a woman suffocate underwater. Oh, we'll get to that story. I've read this. I just want to tell you the whole story, but lots of people like the reading. Okay, Mary's casket was loaded into a hearse and driven 4 hours from Bedford, New York, up to the Kennedy plot in Centerville, massive to, 65 mourners, including an aging Ted Kennedy, gathered at Mary's grave as the sun went down. Each of her children touched her coffin as Bobby looked on. Mary Richardson Kennedy was buried near Eunice Shriver, JFK's sister, given pride of place among the Kennedys, a public acknowledgement of her station. 1 week later, in the middle of the night, without telling Mary's siblings or obtaining the required legal permitting, Bobby Kennedy Jr. had Mary's coffin dug up and moved, 700 feet away. When reporters found out and asked why, Bobby, through family spokesperson Ken Sunshine, well, he can take his sunshine and the grave, not her grave, another depersonalization is now on a sunny hillside shaded by an oak tree with room for her children and other family. Bobby also said he failed to realize how crowded the Kennedy plot was, a claim that strains cruelty. Mary was left to face traffic, no headstone marking her grave, buried alone. Okay, that's page 88. I'm very proud of what I've got through because I'm telling you, the women that read books out loud consistently every day for an hour, my hat goes off to them. It's not easy. It's not. All right, now we're moving on to page 88, Kick Kennedy. However, on that note, before my Danish and my pizza gets cold, I'm going to take a lunch break. I have to get in touch with Trevor, and we'll be starting with Kick Kennedy. Now, I don't promise when. You'll just have to see the proof in the pudding, because like I said, I'm back in the saddle again. You know, when you have people move in, it's a real adjustment when you're used to living by yourself. And I agree that, how can I say this? Sarah, or just S, what your comment said was very true. However, Jilly's here, and she has helped exponentially. She's a lovely lady, and she's a very good cook. So we're going to get into Kick Kennedy, but are you starting to get the idea now that these men were unbelievable? JFK, Bobby Jr., Bobby Kennedy Jr., Mary, Ethel, Jackie. I mean, I think the youngest daughter of Ethel and Bobby Kennedy, her name is Rory. And I remember watching a documentary that Rory made, and it was on HBO. Oh, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It was when I was in the wheelchair for that year. And I watched every single, I don't think anybody has watched as many movies. Wow. I also wanted to say that I did a video the other day about transgender reassignment and the surgeries. I want all of you, if you're interested in that subject, and the reason I was so interested, I shared on the live and I shared in this video that Andrew Gold was canceled because he was very openly having conversations with people who transitioned or have detransitioned. And I put up a video about it yesterday just as an experiment. And do you know that, when you have a smaller channel, you can really, you know who unsubscribes. So on L&L Soul Sisters, it's been staying steady at 305. I haven't uploaded anything there because on the community page, it leads to here. That is the same with the Lasha Rajanko channel. Each of those channels, pretty much everything is on this channel. So in totality, we did reach the goal for monetizing on Google, but they're in 3 different channels. So I need to work twice as hard and really follow through. That's why I say I'm back in the saddle again, because a lot of times when people go through trauma, it is difficult to concentrate. It is difficult to read out loud. It's a very different animal. Cheer Denise and Jessie are the best. They really are. But this is why I don't have to go to brain camp. You know where I got brain camp from? There was this movie. There is a movie called The Other Woman with Cameron Diaz. You should watch it if you can. And this lady, one of the characters says, I need to go to brain camp. You know, it was quite funny. So that's why I said brain camp. Anyways, this video I did was because Andrew Gold literally saved my life. You know why? Because when you sit in a wheelchair, or if you've been violated in any way, that got me thinking also about transgender. And I've shared with you, I used to be severely AN, anorexia nervosa. It's a very deep mental illness. You can survive it, but I'm lucky to be here. I am heterosexual. However, could you imagine in this day and age, my mother was so desperate for answers back then. And the reason that I stunted my growth is because I would see women in my family who were fully developed. And for whatever reason, I know now why. I'm not discussing it. But I didn't do that because I wanted to be a man or a boy. I just didn't want to be a woman. And I developed very early. And it just made me think of these surgeries that these kids go through. Transgender is an ideology. It's an ideology. you're either born with male parts or female parts, and what are they doing to kids 12, 13, 11 years old? And why did it start in California and go all the way down to red states? Go to Buck Angel. Go to his channel. It's B-U-C-K Angel. Now Buck is a she. And she lived, see, it's so confusing. Buck is a woman. And he is 64, okay? He didn't transition into a male until he was like 30, 33 years old. He didn't have any bottom surgery. He didn't have top surgery. But he's got a beard, and I just adore him. And he even said, I am a man, or I am a woman. But, you know, it is a real thing, but it's very rare. Watch The Danish Girl. Everybody knows who Amber Heard is. That was a movie she was in. Very small part. Beautiful, and she is a good actress. And I do not think that transgender ideology is going to stand. It started off with transvestites, cross-dressing, and, you know, they studied children for 30 years before this whole movement, this ideology and these surgeries. Can you imagine going into a surgery and having your top or your bottom removed? That is butchering. That is about money. And I believe it's, I think you all know what I believe. I can't say it on YouTube, because when I put up that transgender video about Andrew Gold and why he was canceled, I think something like 35 or 40 people watched it. 6 or 7 people liked it. No comments, but, and do you know that, 5 people unsubscribed. Yeah. And I thought, why? Like, I know that people go through their YouTube channels and, you know, delete ones that they don't watch a lot. I understand that. I said at the beginning, let's do a test here. And Andrew Gold, I was so inspired by his video. The only way to kind of, not beat, but the only way to be able to express yourself is if everybody starts to talk about it. What are they going to do? Cancel everybody? And why Andrew Gold? And I'm talking about Andrew Gold from The Edge and Heretics. Why? Because he's brilliant. He's brilliant. And it just got me thinking about my grandfather. I shared that story. I think that Bruce Jenner almost made it in vogue. But what I was going to say is, you know, doctors have been studying children who were confused about sexuality. But what happened is, as children passed puberty, they realized that they just weren't heterosexual, which is fine. Love who you love. Who cares? But don't chop things off. And the one, do you know in the transgender community that if you talk about the fact that you don't like the results, you're shunned? It's like cultish. this ideology, and these doctors are making money. This is an experiment that has to stop. Ask not, oh, always ask. What is the reason behind an action or a movement? Where did it begin? It started with RuPaul. Orange is the new black. You know, that man. And like Candace Owens blatantly says in one of her interviews to a woman who transitioned, a man who transitioned to a woman, Candace Owens said, quote, "You realize that's a costume." She's very blunt. So I am not apologetic if my opinion offended anybody, because in 20 years, in 20 years, historically, people will look back and think, what a bunch of barbarians. Imagine. And do you know that the Danish girl, remember the actor that played Stephen Hawkins? He's a phenomenal actor. And he was in The Good Nurse with Jessica Chastain. And he was the nurse that, it's a true story, based on a true story. At any rate, he played the character who was transgender. Like, he really did feel like a woman. And even the way his wife described him, she believed him and she loved him. And they lived in Denmark. And that was, I think, based on this true story, I haven't researched it since I saw it. He died during the bottom surgery because he lost so much blood. And what I have heard from Buck Angel's channel is that after people have these bottom surgeries or top surgeries, that intimate part of their life is non-existent. And there's a man that transitioned into a woman at 13 years old. It's very sad. But at any rate, I am finishing this. We are finishing this by September the 30th, and we are doing the raffle October the 1st. So thank you for joining in this little conversation about Mary Richardson Kennedy, transgender, why I stand with Andrew Gold. That man and Sean Atwood, when I was in that wheelchair, if I hadn't have listened, if I had not had the opportunity, if I had not found them on YouTube, because they're both so intelligent, that it was helping me. It helped me. It saved my life to the point, it doesn't matter. I am here and they helped me. And he's always with all of the people that adore him. He always takes time. So, I did put up some videos based on the original reason I started the YouTube channel. It is like a variety show. It's a social channel. And I hope you come along for the ride. And that is a wrap. And what does RAP stand? Oh, I know. What does RAP stand for? I banged my head. I was cleaning. I just really appreciate all of you. And RAP means welcoming, respecting aspects of all people's societies. Now, there's different societies. There are people that are homeless. There are people that rent. There are people that own. There are people that are millionaires. There are people that... You have to respect people. But if they disrespect you, how do you then deal with that? Good question. I'll let you know how I did. And actually, this is an important, it's not a story, it's a fact. This is something factual that has happened over the last couple of weeks, which is why I've been behind. Anyways, that's a wrap, and I will be back with Kick Kennedy, okay? Bye, everybody, and have a wonderful day. And thank you. And let's say bye to Sophers. Oh, she's asleep, and she's asleep in a baby. She's asleep in a baby. Anyways, I do have some magazines about Princess Kate. Oh, I'm going to eat my pizza. All right, everybody have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Kick Kennedy. Unbelievable chapter. True story. And like I said in another video, Maureen Callahan, Bobby Kennedy Jr. hasn't had one thing to say about this book. Not even a statement from his fantastic PR team. You know why? Because it's all true. The myth of Camelot. The myth of Oprah. You know, it's funny. My Auntie Margie, who I told you all about, she always said Oprah was a phony and Ellen DeGeneres was mean. She said that 15 years ago. I didn't believe her. And look what came out. My aunt did not have pervasive judgment. She was an amazing woman. And as long as I keep following in her footsteps, and don't worry, my mother will be back. I miss her too. I really do. And you all have a great day. And this is a Canadian staple too. Tim Hortons, Danishes, chips, and pizza. Okay. Have a great day, everybody. And I didn't mean to offend people, but if the truth offends people, you need to critically think. The one thing I absolutely disagree with in reference to Andrew Gold is I do believe in a higher power. I do not believe when we pass, we pass. I believe that when Sophie passes, because it's inevitably going to happen one day, and you have to be prepared for it, her ashes, I'm keeping. And then when I pass, my last wish is for Sophie and our ashes. Where would I want them? Jasper. Jasper. Yep, Jasper. Okay. Oh, why am I? That's morbid. But hey, we all have an expiration date, apparently. I can't believe that. But see, I better go now. I'm gonna go now. Okay, bye everybody.